My name is Marco. I'm 24 years old. I live in one of the rugged mountain villages of Tuscany, northern Italy. Together with my father, I tend to our vast olive groves that have belonged to our family for generations. The grove is far from the city, tucked away in a desolate valley at the foothills of the Apennine mountains. In recent years, thieves had been haunting the area. They would slip in under the cover of night to pillage our ancient trees. Because of this, my father and I made a pact. We would take turns guarding the grove from an old stone cabin on the property. 10 days for him, 10 days for me. That day was the shift change. My father was supposed to return in the afternoon, but even as darkness fell, he was nowhere to be seen. My mother stood anxiously by the window, watching the road. Finally, through the pitch-black night, the headlights of my father's truck appeared. When he walked in, his face was as white as a sheet. He told us about a horrific accident on the main highway. A jackknifed semi-truck had blocked the road for hours. I had to get to the grove, but the main road was impassable. With a trembling voice, my father said, "Either you wait until tomorrow, or you take the old pass." My blood ran cold at the mention of the old pass. It was a road closed 10 years ago by a massive landslide where an entire family vanished, and which the locals refused to even name, whispering stories of unseen forces. Our livelihood depended on those olives. "I'll go, Father," I said. I got into the car, veered off the highway, and entered that forgotten path. At the mouth of the road stood a massive boulder with "Do not enter, danger," spray painted in red. I steered around the rock and began driving into the heart of the darkness. The road was in ruins. By now, only the reckless or the desperate used this path, but entering it at night was considered a death wish. The track was so narrow that my truck barely squeezed through. To my right were jagged cliffs. To my left, a sheer drop into a dark abyss. Far below lay a dried-up riverbed. In the pale moonlight, the white stones scattered down there looked hauntingly like bleached skulls. The hairpin turns were so sharp that my heart leapt into my throat with every rotation of the steering wheel. There was no light from any cottage, no sound of any animal, only the shrill whistle of the wind as it whipped through the crevices of the rocks. At times it sounded like a human scream, at others, like the distant sobbing of a woman. I had been driving for about 15 minutes when the atmosphere grew even heavier. Even the trees looked wrong here, twisted, decayed, and reaching out like ghostly hands. Just as I rounded a sharp bend, my headlights cut through the gloom and hit them. A woman was sitting by the side of the road, huddled against the rocks. Her head was bowed, and she clutched a bundled cloth in her lap. Standing beside her were two small girls, perhaps 4 and 6 years old. Looking around with wide, terrified eyes, we were miles from the nearest house. It was impossible for anyone to be out here at this hour. I slammed on the brakes. My hands were shaking, and a cold sweat broke out across my back. "They can't be human," I whispered to myself. But the children, they looked so real. Their feet were bare, their dresses tattered, and their hair matted. I was about to step on the gas and vanish into the night, but then the woman slowly raised her head. As the headlights washed over her face, my heart sank. She was young, no more than 30, with a pale face and sunken cheeks. There were dark circles under her eyes, but it was her expression that shook me to the core. Tears streamed silently down her face. Her eyes were hollow, as if her soul had already departed this world. There was no fear, no hope, only a profound, endless despair. I shifted the car into reverse and slowly backed up beside them. When I rolled down the window, my voice was trembling. "Ma'am, are you all right? Why are you out here at this hour?" The woman didn't answer. She only bowed her head. Tears dripped steadily onto the dirt. The children looked at me with such hunger and terror in their eyes. The older girl spoke with a shudder. "Sir, Mama won't speak. Our baby died." My chest tightened. I got out of the car, whispering prayers under my breath, and knelt beside the woman. "Look at me. What happened? How can I help you?" Finally she spoke. Her voice was so hoarse and hollow, it sounded as if she hadn't used it in days. "My baby, he died this morning," she sobbed. "I wanted to take him to my husband's grave, to bury him with his father, but I lost the way. We've been walking for hours. The girls couldn't go any further. I sat here praying for someone to pass. You are the first." In that moment, I realized there were no ghosts to fear here. There was only a desperate, grieving mother. "Get up," I said, my voice now firm. "I'm taking you. Come, get in the car." She was so weak that when I helped her up, her body felt as cold as a block of ice. I put the children in the back and the woman in the front seat, clutching that tragic bundle in her lap. I turned the heater up to the maximum. The girls sat in the back in total silence, paralyzed by shock. To break the silence, I asked, "What is your name?" Elena, she whispered. I am Marco. Where do you live? Up by the old dairies in the Highlands, she replied. Your husband, I started, but the tears flowed again. He died 4 months ago in a construction accident, she said. We have no one else. My father passed from a heart attack 2 months ago. Now it's just me and my girls. We are completely alone. We held on to each other. Now he is gone too. Elena's voice had dissolved into broken sobs. What happened to the baby? I asked. She began to shake violently. I couldn't find formula. I was giving him cow's milk. But I think the milk I gave him yesterday was spoiled. He started vomiting during the night. He passed away in my arms this morning. He was only 3 months old. Only 3 months. Her cries filled the car, and I felt my own eyes well up. I'm taking you to my mother, I said firmly. You will stay there. We will bury the baby properly tomorrow. Don't worry. Elena could only nod, her weeping uncontrollable. It was nearly midnight. When we arrived at the house, my parents were waiting by the gate, consumed with worry. They rushed to the truck as soon as they saw me. My mother cried out, Marco! Why are you back? Did something happen? I whispered. Mother, we have guests. My mother looked into the car, seeing the children huddled in the back and the broken woman in the front. My mother was that kind of person. She could read a soul's pain in a single glance. She immediately opened the door. God bless you, my dear. Please come inside. We brought Elena and the girls in. When my father learned what had happened, he shook his head slowly and said, May God give you strength. My mother took the girls, bathed them, dressed them in clean clothes, and fed them. That night, after the frozen mountain road, our home was warmed by a heavy sadness, yet also by a profound sense of mercy. The children were so hungry that the way they grabbed the bread with their tiny hands broke our hearts. It was as if they hadn't eaten for days. We offered food to Elena as well, but she couldn't eat a single bite. She just sat there, clutching that tragic bundle in her lap, weeping silently. My father leaned in and whispered, Marco, we must bury the baby tomorrow. We cannot wait any longer. The next day, my father, my uncle, and I laid the small infant to rest in a tiny grave beside his father. Elena stayed with us for 2 days. During that time, she seemed completely detached from the world. She just stared out the window, her tears never ceasing. At night, she would wake up screaming, My baby! Where is my baby? And my mother would soothe her like a child. On the morning of the 3rd day, Elena came to us. Marco, I'm so grateful for everything. May God bless you. But I must return to my home now. My mother insisted. Stay here, Elena. Look, the girls have found a warm home here. But Elena was firm. No, I belong there. My husband's memories and my baby's scent are in that house. I cannot breathe anywhere else. Besides, I am a burden to you. She was right. Our house was crowded, and my brother lived with us too. Fine, I said, at least let me drive you back. She agreed. We set off the following afternoon. This time, we avoided that eerie old pass and took the main road. As we climbed higher into the mountains, the road narrowed until we finally turned onto a desolate dirt path. We drove for miles, climbing upward into the absolute silence. There wasn't a soul or a trace of life around. Finally, behind a thicket of trees, I saw the stone shack. My heart sank. It was a crumbling structure, overgrown with weeds and thorns. You live here? I asked, unable to believe my ears. Yes, Elena replied. My husband and I repaired this place. We were saving money to move to town, but now everything is falling apart around me. Inside, the sight was even more painful. An old rug, a few tattered blankets, and a rusted stove. When Elena saw the empty baby swaddle in the corner, she broke down in sobs. It's okay, Elena, I said. I will help you. I'll come by every week. The following week, every time I went to the olive grove, I stopped by. I brought hot meals cooked by my mother, blankets, and donations I'd gathered from the villagers. The children were slowly starting to smile again, but a week later everything changed. When I visited Elena one afternoon, I found her in a horrific state. She was deathly pale, and her hands were shaking uncontrollably. Elena, what happened? Are you sick? I asked. Elena scanned the surroundings with terror and whispered, Marco, there's something here. At night, something claws at the door. I hear footsteps outside, but when I look, there's no one. My skin crawled. Since when? I asked. Since my husband died, but last night was the worst. At midnight, I heard a crying sound outside. It sounded just like my lost baby. When I went to the door and called out, the sound stopped. She took a deep breath, her eyes wide with fright. Then that face looked in through the window. But Marco, it wasn't a human face. His face was long and distorted. He looked at me with massive eyes and smiled. It was such a horrific grin that I screamed, Elena said, trembling. The girls had woken up and they all huddled in a corner praying until dawn. I knew these mountains weren't right, that ancient legends lived here. Elena told me she'd heard footsteps on the roof before and that small stones had rained down on the shack until morning. I will get you out of here, Elena, I promise, I said, leaving in despair. Why were these entities haunting her? But something strange happened. After Gunal, those nightmarish events stopped abruptly. When I visited a week later, Elena looked much more at peace. Marco, the sounds have faded. Nothing has happened for a week, she said. I thought the prayers had worked, but the truly chilling part was just beginning. 2 weeks later, when I stopped by in the afternoon, Elena met me at the door. Marco, may God bless you. The supplies you brought last night were more than enough. Why did you bother coming again today? I froze. Elena, I wasn't here last night, I said. The smile on Elena's face froze, and her color vanished instantly. What do you mean? You knocked on the door last night and left the packages. You said, I'm sorry for your loss. May God help you. And then you left. My throat went dry and my skin crawled. I swear I was at the olive grove last night, Elena. Did you see the person? I asked. It was pitch black. There was no moon, but the voice. It was exactly your voice, Marco. Even the way he walked looked like you. I only saw a shadow, but I was certain it was you. I whispered slowly. Elena, are the things he brought still here? Yes, inside, she said. We walked in together. In the corner sat a sack of potatoes, a tin of olive oil, and bags of flour. I didn't bring these, Elena, I said, but a strange sensation washed over me. In the following days, Elena said the same thing every time. Marco, you came again last night and left supplies. I heard your voice. You said, don't be afraid. I am helping you. I was terrified. When my father heard, he sank into a deep silence. Marco, he said, those mountains are the home of ancient spirits. Perhaps they are benevolent entities helping the woman. They take your shape because you are the face of hope in that house. For the next 10 days, I stood guard at the olive grove, but my mind was always on that shack. When my shift ended, as I was passing that cursed road in the late afternoon, the sun turned a blood-red hue. I rounded a bend and froze in my tracks. Someone was standing right in the middle of the road. He raised his hand in a stop gesture. I had no choice but to pull over. As he walked toward the car, the last rays of the setting sun hit his face, and my breath caught in my throat. It was me. The same face, the same clothes, the same gait. It was like looking into a mirror. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. My double approached the car and tapped on the window. When I rolled it down, the voice I heard was my own, but it sounded as if it were coming from the bottom of a deep well. Do not fear me, Marco. My throat was tight. I could only manage to ask, what? What are you? The figure tilted its head. I am helping you. I am helping that woman. We are the ancient guardians of these mountains. This is our home. My mind went numb. I was just staring at myself. My voice came out as a mere whisper. Why? Why did you take my shape? The figure replied in my own voice. Because the woman trusts you, Marco. When she sees your face, she isn't afraid. She accepts the help. If she saw anyone else, she would flee in terror. My double raised his hand and continued. Listen to me, Marco. We mean no harm. You started this and we are finishing it. You became her hope, and we are sustaining that hope. Go and tell her. Tell her we are the Muslim spirits of these mountains. By God's permission, we are protecting her. Bewildered, I asked, are you protecting her? A deep sadness washed over the figure's face. The woman lost everything. Marco, she was left alone, and dark spirits began to haunt her. Those sounds she heard, that horrific face at the window, they were all evil entities trying to drive her away from this desolate place. But we heard her prayers and intervened. We drove the wicked ones away. She is under our protection now. My skin crawled, but this time I was filled with peace. Why? I asked. He smiled. Because we too serve the Creator just as you do, and our duty is to do good. You are a good man, Marco. Do not stop helping her, but be careful. There are not only good beings in these mountains. Do not travel at night, never forget your prayers, and never show unnecessary bravado. He turned his back and walked toward the cliffs in the crimson light of the setting sun. His shadow stretched, grew massive, and suddenly vanished as if he had never been there at all. I sat there for minutes. Finally, I started the car and drove to Elena's shack. Elena met me at the door. We went inside. The children were sleeping. We sat by the stove, and I told her everything. The miraculous truth I had witnessed. I told Elena everything. The malevolent spirits, the guardian protectors, and that strange conversation I had with my own image in the middle of the road. At first, she couldn't believe it. She was shaken with terror. "So the person coming at night wasn't you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I was the one who came by day, Elena," I said. "But those who knocked on your door at night were the ancient, guardians of these mountains. They are faithful and benevolent beings. They have protected you from the dark forces." Elena began to cry, asking, "What should I do?" I calmed her. "Do not fear. If they were evil, they would have harmed you long ago. Instead, they brought you food and watched over you. You are safe now." We sat with Elena until dawn, offering prayers. By morning, her soul had found some peace. "What would I have done without you, Marco?" she said. Driving home, I realized once again that there is much more to this world than what meets the eye. Sometime later, I told Elena, "We must build you a proper house on the edge of the village." Elena said, "I have no money, but my father and I took it upon ourselves." During the construction, incredible things started happening. I was working with friends from the village, but the work progressed at an impossible speed. Sometimes, when we arrived in the morning, we would find that the wall we left unfinished had been completed or the timber had been moved. One day, my friend Antonio asked in bewilderment, "Marco, how is this possible? It's as if someone is working for us all through the night." I simply smiled. I knew that while we slept, the ancient friends of the mountain were lending a hand. "Maybe someone really is working," I told Antonio with a smile. A month later, the house was ready, small but sturdy, with 2 rooms and a bright, clean kitchen. It was a safe haven. Elena thanked us through tears. "How will I ever repay this, Marco?" "Just pray for us, Elena," I said. "That is enough." Shortly after moving in, Elena came to me one morning. She was excited, but this time there was a spark in her eyes instead of fear. "Marco, I saw them last night," she said. "Who?" I asked. "The guardians. 4 women came and spoke to me. They said, do not fear. We are a family living in these mountains. We saw your suffering and helped you for the sake of the Creator." Elena described how she offered them tea. They accepted, but though they raised the cups to their lips, they did not drink. Before leaving, they told her, "Your situation has improved now. You are safe. You no longer need our help." They asked her to look outside as they departed. When Elena opened the door, she saw 10 sheep in the yard. "These are yours. Raise them, sell their milk, and provide for your family. Stay with God," they said. And then they vanished. A year has passed. Elena is doing very well now. Her flock has grown, and she lives independently by selling milk and cheese. The villagers support her by buying her produce. When I visited her last week, the old pain was gone from her face, replaced by a peaceful smile.